I'm sure by now many of you will have seen us raving about our new Manthey-Racing setup geometry equipment. So I'm here with Ricky, who's over 20 years experience of setting up GT cars, Porsches, to talk about the equipment itself and how he uses it. So Ricky, thanks for taking a bit of time. I see you've got another RS on the setup equipment. But let's just look at the equipment itself and tell us exactly how it works. First and foremost, you've got your lasers to set it up.
Right, so we start at the front here with a laser alignment, which moves down to give you your ride heights.
Yep.
And then once your ride heights are then based, you can go onto the toe, camber, and do the corner weights.
Okay, so this is advanced setup equipment. This is the same equipment that Manthey-Racing use on their race cars, the Porsche factory world endurance cars, as well as in their workshop for setting up all of the cars. So we can use this for both 5-star and centre-lock cars.
Yes.
And it's not just obviously extreme setup in terms of track setup. This is for your standard alignment as well.
Correct. Yeah, we can set up anything on there. Standard cars to race cars, fast road setup. Yeah, it can all be done.
And from your experience, how does it make your life easier?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can do ride heights, corner weights and geometry in one set.
And how would you normally, before this, have had to do it?
You'd have to get the car on a different ramp to measure the ride heights, and then set the geo, then back off, set the ride heights, then the corner weights, and you're constantly battling yourself until you get to the point where everything is equal. So.
Tell us why this equipment specifically is so much better than somebody just taking their car down to their local garage and having an alignment and setup done for 100 quid, say.
This setup, you have coming off the hubs, so you're getting great measurements, dead straight, so you're not sort of relying on the tyre. When you make big adjustments with a tyre, you can literally push the tyre over, which then gives you a different reading. So when you do that, you take the car off, then go back on to then reset again. You're coming straight off the hubs, so it's very accurate.
And what people forget is that a millimetre or 2 millimetres is a huge amount of difference on a car. So if you're not using accurate equipment, and this is the most accurate, you're only getting it sort of within a rough parameter. This is exactly right.
Yes, this is bang on. I've been adjusting cars for many years, and you know, if you do get the rear toe out slightly, it affects the whole handle of the car. Likewise on the front. This is just base set, done. It's 100%.
And it's completely repeatable, isn't it?
Yeah.
To exactly the same measurement.
Yeah.
So let's look at each bit individually, Ricky. The laser at the front, that is presumably to get your level adjustment.
Yes, so you get the levels completely flat.
Yeah.
You've got little measuring points on each platform, which you take off the laser alignment on the front, and also you get your ride height measurements from the chassis down.
So you measure that to the laser line?
Yes.
At the front and back?
Front and back.
So at that point, you know the car is absolutely level?
Yes. And then after that, you go to corner weights. If the corner weights are out, you can then adjust it through with the ride heights. Right.
So each unit has its own weighing scale.
Yes.
So you can then adjust the car to get the weights exactly right all the time with it sat on the units themselves.
Yeah.
Okay. How about things like toe and camber?
The toe is on the lasers on each of the platforms, as you see on the side.
Right, so that's what we're seeing down the side, and that's giving your exact toe, the amount of toe in or out the wheels are. Yeah, okay. And then camber?
Camber, we have the gauge here, which we then come off the side of the hub.
Yeah.
Which then gives you your camber readings.
And because that's coming off the hub, you've got no tyre deflection, you've got no room for error whatsoever. No. Yeah, okay.
Perfect.
Let's talk a bit about different setups. I mean, not all cars have the range of adjustment that GT cars, RSs and GT3s have. If you have, you know, I won't say an ordinary Porsche because there's no such thing as an ordinary Porsche, but if you have a Porsche that's not a GT model and you just want alignment done so that you know that you're getting the most out of your tyres, you're not wearing it incorrectly, you've got the right feel behind the wheel, that's a fairly straightforward job on this equipment, using the alignment gauge.
Yeah, of course. You've got the right equipment to do it with. You can come off the camber, you've got your toe. On a lot of standard Porsches, you can't do ride heights or corner weights because it's non-adjustable. Yeah, it can be done.
And for the more enthusiastic driver, I mean, the alignment would cover the simple checks to make sure your car is right and true. But for the more enthusiastic driver who wants a slightly more engaging drive, shall we say, on the road, you can have a fast road setup.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, every car leaves the factory with a huge margin of safety built into the setup, doesn't it? Because the factory has to allow for, if you like, the worst common denominator of driver. So it has to be the safest it can be. And whilst for 80% of the time that's absolutely fine, the moment you really start to push the car a bit, you might want a bit more. So there's an option for perhaps a fast road setup before you even get to the track settings.
Yeah, of course. Adding extra camber and a bit more toe, it does help. It changes things. So you can dial the car into how one wants it.
And you must see a lot of cars that come in with horrendous tyre wear.
Yes.
And you can see straight away from that, can't you, that there's something wrong?
Yeah.
And can you pretty much guess what it is almost?
Yeah. 9 times out of 10 on these cars, it's toe. Toe is a big key on these. If you've got a car towing out, it feels very vague, very nerve-wracking. And if you've got too much toe, it feels very pointy and it sort of darts all over the place. But yeah, it's
the only perhaps downside of a real ultimate track setup, the sort of thing I want on my RS, is increased tyre wear. And that's something people are always a little bit concerned about. But relative to the amount of wear you get onto the track, it's very little still, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, you're right. But if you go on track without a track day setup, let's say, you don't get the most benefits out of the car because you're not pushing over onto that tyre. So, you know, it all depends on the driver as well. You know, if they're as quick as you, then you want a lot more camber, let's say. But if you're not, then you know you can dial it back
who
out.
is? Who is as quick?
Well, well, I was going to say me, but no chance.
Well, you're lighter, I'll give you that, Ricky. The other thing is, a lot of people worry, they say, well, I don't really understand all this sort of stuff. I don't know what to ask for in terms of setup, so I'm a bit worried to sort of have that conversation because I don't know about it. But people shouldn't feel worried to get in contact because basically all you need to do is tell us how you drive, what you use your car for, what you want to achieve out of it, and you can find the perfect setting for them.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole key. Is, you know, everyone starts off in stages, which is a nice thing to do in cars. You know, you buy the car, you drive it, you add camber, you feel it. You may even go to the extreme of changing suspension and you drive it again, and then go more camber for more track use.
And the thing I'd also say is don't think that, oh, I'm just an average driver, I won't feel the difference. The reality is you will feel the difference, especially on your own car that you're used to driving back to back. The in and out experience is really quite something, isn't it?
And another thing you've got to remember is with suspension, everything moves and, you know, things do sag, let's say.
Ricky, one of the bits of equipment is the steering level. Tell us what this does.
Right, so when you start off doing your wheel alignment, you will get this set so the steering wheel is completely straight. You set the level up, and then as you're adjusting the toes, every time you make a toe adjustment, you see where the level is, and just to give you that perfect straight steering wheel for the customer to go away with. Yeah,
because you could set the car up perfectly on the settings, but the wheel could be wrong.
Yeah, of course.
So that ensures that everything is absolutely square.
Perfect, yes.
So Ricky, is there an optimum time to do this?
Yeah, tyres. Right, first start off with good tyres. If you're doing a setup, especially the extreme, you always want new tyres. Reason for this is if you've got an old tyre and it's worn more on one edge than the other, and you then change the camber angles and the toe angle, it can make the car feel very, very nervous and very twitchy.
Yeah.
So
because the car's been running on a different setup.
different setup. Yeah.
So although you're setting it up off the hubs, if the tyres are worn to an incorrect setup, when you put the right setup on it, you won't feel the benefit.
No.
I get you.
It can really make the car feel quite nervous.
And by doing it, perhaps when you're putting a new set of tyres on, you know that you're then getting the most out of those new tyres in terms of wear and performance.
Oh yeah, correct.
So in terms of time spent, how long does it take, Ricky?
For a normal wheel alignment, you're looking at 3 hours, and that will do toe and camber.
So that's your basic alignment checks?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then for a full setup, which is ride heights, corner weights, and the geometry, that is 6 hours.
But some of that time is also spent just looking at flex in suspension, isn't it?
Yeah. You look at tyres, bushes, see if they're worn, wheel bearings worn, track lens worn. You check everything before you do any adjustments.
And that's included in the price for doing
Yes.
So you're getting more than just a quick tape measure around the car.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Excellent. You mentioned then, Ricky, about worn bushes, but how does that affect the car if you set the car up with worn bushes?
Well, if you set the car up with worn bushes, the first thing when the customer goes out, it's going to move. And then you've got a rear end which could be towing in too much or towing out too much, and the effect on that is massive, especially on these cars.
So actually those checks are really important.
Oh yeah, you would check bushes, tyres, tyre pressures, to start with.
So to sum up then, we've really got 5 options for you, from the standard setup, factory setup, to your fast road setup, to your amateur driver on track setup, to your pro driver on track setup, or even a custom setup, so an individually tailored setup for your driving needs. And in fact, that could be extended, the custom setup, to taking you to a circuit or a test facility, you driving the car, using this setup in sight, in situ, and changing it there and then. That's how bespoke and custom it can be, correct?
Correct.
That is fantastic. Well, if you've got some requirements or you think this could be fitting with something you're thinking of doing with your Porsche, get in touch with us here at RPM Technik and we'll help.